6 cabinet appointees have already been named. Among them is Antony Blinken for Secretary of State. Now, Antony Blinken has certainly got an impressive resume. He is definitely not a Washington outsider. He was Obama's deputy advisor. He was national security advisor to Joe Biden when he was vice president, and he was deputy secretary of state. And you can be expecting that he will be establishing a stark departure from the era of Donald Trump.
Whether we like it or not, the world simply doesn't organize itself. And until the Trump administration, the United States had played a lead role in doing a lot of that organizing, in helping to write the rules. And Joe Biden starts with the proposition that we need to reassert American engagement and American leadership.
So where do his foreign policy instincts lie? Well, based on his resume, he seems to be an advocate of military interventionism. Blinken was a supporter of the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2002. He was an advisor to Joe Biden at the time, when Joe Biden was very outspoken in supporting that war and repeating the later debunked claims about weapons of mass destruction. Blinken also thinks that the problem in Syria, where the United States has been arming terrorists and extremists in the hope of toppling the Ba'athist government, has been a lack of U.S. intervention.
We failed to prevent a horrific loss of life. We failed to prevent massive displacement of people internally in Syria and, of course, externally as refugees. And it's something that I will take with me for the rest of my days.
Blinken's love for war has expressed itself in some rather odd ways. For example, back in 2011, he called out Joe Biden, his boss at the time, for not being enthusiastic enough about NATO's intervention in Libya. We'll take a look at the North African country almost a decade later and see how well that intervention turned out. Now, Blinken also repeats the allegation that Russia was paying bounties to Afghan terrorists if they killed U.S. soldiers.
When President Trump stands with Vladimir Putin on the world stage and takes his word about Russia's attacks on our elections over that of our intelligence agencies, that exacerbates the problem. When we have a president who is told that Russia may be putting bounties on the heads of our troops in Afghanistan and does nothing, in fact, worse than nothing, by his own acknowledgement, speaking to President Putin at least 6 times after he got that report and not raising it, not confirming him, and even inviting President Putin to Washington and Russia back into the G7, we have a real fundamental problem.
Sure, that's pretty bad, except that it probably didn't happen. U.S. intelligence has admitted on multiple occasions that it has absolutely no concrete evidence to back up these claims. But it sure made a good talking point for the Joe Biden presidential campaign, and it was a way to keep the Russiagate hysterics alive. So who cares if it's not true? So while Trump is still contesting the election results, Biden is getting prepared to get to work in the Oval Office. And based on his Secretary of State pick, it looks like peace will definitely not be a priority.
We've seen somebody who has doubled down, defended and redefended a position that has no defense. He has continued to argue for the type of policy that has been shown to be false. I mean, that's shown to be ineffective. It's an entirely unscientific approach to try something, see it not work, and then declare success. And we're going to see more and more money, good money thrown after bad as this involvement continues. I don't think anything there is particularly surprising. I mean, we see a continuation of the Obama administration and the Clinton administration. I don't see anything there that's unusual. I see basically business as usual, military overreach rather than cutting military spending. We're not going to see shutting down foreign military bases and bringing the troops home. We're not going to see a de-escalation of the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria. We're going to see just an escalation and a continuation of basically the military-industrial complex running the U.S. government.